You wake up, 8 hours in bed. You barely feel like you slept. Your hands are cold, even under the blanket. Your thinking is slow, and you reach for the coffee on autopilot. You tell yourself the same thing you've told yourself for the last 3 years. You're just getting older. Stop right there. Because that quiet dismissal may be the most consequential mistake you make about your health all year. Right now, inside roughly 1 in 8 adults over 60, a small gland at the base of your neck is silently slowing down. The standard blood test most doctors order cannot see what is actually happening. I'm Dr. Richard James. Over 3 decades in clinical medicine, helping adults over 60 figure out what their bodies are actually trying to tell them, especially when the standard tests come back saying nothing is wrong. Here is what almost nobody takes the time to explain. Your thyroid is the smallest endocrine gland in your body. It controls how every cell uses energy. After 60, it shifts. The way it produces hormone changes. The way your tissues respond changes. The textbook symptoms most doctors learned about, the heat intolerance, the obvious weight gain, the dramatic hair loss, do not always show up in older adults. What shows up instead is subtle, slowly creeping, easy to dismiss as aging. This is not just about feeling tired. Untreated thyroid drift quietly raises your risk of heart attack. It accelerates cognitive decline. It turns ordinary stairs into the kind of fall that costs a person their independence. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism estimates that 8 to 18% of adults over 60 have subclinical hypothyroidism, a slowdown that the standard test often labels normal. Women over 65 carry the highest risk. Your blood test came back normal. Your doctor said you're fine. Every morning, you still feel like a stranger in your own body. Stay with me. There is a very specific reason that test missed it. There are also 8 specific words you can say at your very next appointment that change everything. In the next 18 minutes, I am going to walk you through 3 things. The symptoms most doctors are calling depression or aging when they're actually thyroid signals. Why the standard test misses this in seniors specifically. The exact 4-test panel you can ask for by name. Let's start with what your body has actually been trying to tell you. Persistent fatigue. Not the tired you feel after a hard day. The kind that doesn't lift, no matter how much you sleep. You wake up rested for 30 seconds, and then it crashes back in. Cold hands and cold feet, even in a warm room. You wrap up in layers other people don't need. You wear socks to bed in summer. Your thinking is slow. Words you used to find instantly, you now reach for. Names. Why you walked into the room. What you were just about to say. Constipation that has slowly become normal. Dry skin no lotion seems to fix. Brittle nails. Hair that is thinner than it was 3 years ago, especially the outer third of your eyebrows. A heart that beats slower than it used to. A mood that has flattened. Stiff joints in the morning. Muscle weakness that used to show up only in February now shows up in July. How many of those did you just nod at? Now, here is the part that catches people off guard. Each of those symptoms, on its own, looks like aging. Together, they describe a thyroid that is not making enough hormone for the body it serves. In adults over 60, that pattern almost never gets called what it actually is. Picture a representative profile. A 71-year-old retired school teacher. Let's call her Teresa. She lives alone in a small house in Pennsylvania. 2 adult children, both out of state. For 4 years, she has been exhausted, foggy, cold, and quietly losing strength off the muscle she still needed. Her doctor ran a single blood test, told her it was normal, and prescribed an antidepressant. 2 more years went by. Picture this kind of patient. The clinical literature documents thousands of them. This is the pattern. The diagnosis Teresa was given is a real diagnosis for some patients. For many seniors with this exact symptom cluster, the antidepressant is treating a thyroid that nobody actually checked properly. This is not a normal part of aging. This is a biological signal. It gets quieter, not louder, the longer it goes unaddressed. Your body is not betraying you. It is reporting in. The fatigue is data. The cold hands are data. The slow thinking, the dry skin, the constipation, the flat mood. Every single one of them is information about a system that runs on the right amount of one specific hormone. When that hormone drops, the system slows. All of it slows. At the same time. in the same person, in a way that looks like a checklist. Here is the part most people miss. These symptoms are not the worst of it. They are the early warning. The consequences of ignoring them, which I am about to show you in a few minutes, are far more serious than feeling tired. Before any of that matters, you need to understand why the test you already had did not catch this. That is the thing standing between you and the right diagnosis. Here is what nobody in your doctor's office is taking the time to explain. When you go in and ask about your thyroid, what almost every clinic runs is a single test called TSH. That stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. The name fools people, including some clinicians. TSH is not measuring your thyroid hormone. It is measuring the message your brain is sending to your thyroid. That is not the same thing. Here is why this matters specifically after 60. The first reason is that the normal range for TSH was set decades ago on a population mostly under 50. Those numbers were never recalibrated for the way an older body actually responds. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism has shown that age-adjusted reference ranges for older adults are different from the standard ranges most labs still print on their reports. Many seniors who are functionally low show TSH numbers labeled normal. The second reason is conversion. Your thyroid produces mostly T4. T4 is the storage form of the hormone. The active form, the one that actually walks into your cells and turns the lights on, is T3. Your body converts T4 into T3 in the liver, the kidneys, and other tissues. After 60, that conversion becomes less efficient. You can have a TSH that looks fine, a T4 that looks fine, and a free T3 that is quietly low. Standard testing rarely measures free T3, so what you actually have available at the cellular level never makes it onto the lab report. The third reason is something called reverse T3. Reverse T3 is the brake pedal version of T3. It rises with age, with chronic illness, with chronic stress, with poor sleep, with low-calorie eating. Higher reverse T3 can block thyroid hormone from doing its job, even when the standard panel looks textbook. Your test is normal. You are not. This is not your imagination. This is not depression. This is not just aging. This is a measurement gap. Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking. So what does this mean for me, today? Stay with me. What comes next is the part that should make you pick up the phone and call your doctor's office this week. Not next month, this week. For the kind of representative profile we just talked about, the answer was a fuller panel. The literature on this is consistent. When older adults with classic symptoms but a normal TSH are tested with the full set, a meaningful percentage of them turn up with patterns that explain everything they have been feeling. JAMA Internal Medicine has published on this exact gap multiple times. Your doctor is not necessarily wrong. Your doctor is following a standard screening protocol that was built for a younger body. The standard protocol is reasonable for a 35-year-old. It is no longer enough for a 70-year-old. You are not going to fix this by hoping the next single TSH comes back differently. You are going to fix it by asking, by name, for the test that actually shows what your thyroid is doing. That ask is straightforward. I will give it to you in 5 minutes. First, I have to show you what is at stake if you do not. This is the part that genuinely keeps me up at night. Untreated thyroid dysfunction in seniors is not just about feeling sluggish. The downstream cost is measured in 3 places: your heart, your brain, your bones. Start with your heart. Multiple cohort studies have linked subclinical hypothyroidism in older adults to elevated risk of coronary heart disease, heart failure, and cardiovascular death. A meta-analysis published in JAMA in 2010, pooling data from more than 55,000 participants, found that adults with TSH levels at the higher end of the normal range carried a measurably higher risk of coronary events than adults with lower normal TSH. The risk was strongest in those with TSH at or above 7. Your cholesterol panel often goes in the wrong direction. Your heart works harder against stiffer vessels. The damage is real, even when the diagnosis is borderline. Now your brain: slow processing speed, memory complaints, difficulty pulling words. Some patients in their 70s are evaluated for early dementia when, in reality, what they have is a thyroid that has been quietly underproducing for 5 or 6 years. The literature documents reversible cognitive impairment in older adults with treated hypothyroidism. Reversible. The right diagnosis can give people back the clarity they thought they had permanently lost. Now the part nobody talks about. Your bones, your falls, slowed reflexes, proximal muscle weakness, the kind that makes the climb out of a chair harder than it used to be. Subtle gait changes. After 60, one bad fall can mean a hip fracture. A hip fracture in someone over 65 carries a 1-year mortality rate of roughly 20%. That is not a number to scroll past. That is the number behind why your daughter calls more often, why the family talks about the stairs, why your doctor measures grip strength. Untreated thyroid dysfunction tilts every one of those metrics in the wrong direction. This is the cost of letting a normal-looking TSH be the final answer. Now, the good news. Every single piece of this is fixable. The symptoms reverse with proper treatment. The cardiovascular risk normalizes. Cognitive function frequently improves. Falls become less likely as muscle and reflex come back online. You do not need to wait. You do not need to hope your doctor brings it up. You do not need to live another year on the assumption that this is just what 70 feels like. What you need is the right test, the right conversation, and the right plan. Picture Teresa again, a representative case. Once a fuller panel was finally run, the pattern was clear. Once the right treatment was started, the literature shows what happens for patients who fit her profile. Energy returns. The fog lifts. The cold hands warm up. The bowels move. The mood stabilizes. The fall risk drops. None of this is guaranteed for any one person. All of it is well documented across the right population. The worst part of this story is how preventable it all was. The best part is that it is still preventable for you. The opportunity to change this is not in the past. It is in your next appointment. Here is exactly what I want you to do. I know some of you are thinking, my doctor already checked. He said my thyroid was normal. I understand. Here is what I want you to ask at your next appointment, word for word. Can we run a full thyroid panel, TSH, free T4, free T3, and thyroid antibodies? 8 words. That is the entire ask. Hand the receptionist a note if it helps. Repeat it twice if you need to. The right blood draw takes the same needle as the wrong one. There is no extra effort for the lab. There is no reason for anyone to refuse it. This is not about replacing your doctor. This is about adding the right information to the conversation. The doctors I respect most are the ones who listen when a patient asks a more specific question. If you are met with resistance, that itself is information. You can ask why. You can ask for the panel anyway. You can request a referral to an endocrinologist. You have options. I know some of you are also thinking, I do not want to be on another pill for the rest of my life. Hear me on this. Subclinical thyroid dysfunction is not always treated with medication. Many cases are managed with watchful monitoring, lifestyle inputs, and gradual recalibration over time. Selenium, iodine adequacy, gut health, stress management, and consistent sleep all materially affect thyroid function. When medication is the right call, the dose is highly individualized. The conversation always begins with a real measurement, not an automatic prescription. I have seen this go right hundreds of times over a long career. Picture a 71-year-old representative profile, the kind the literature describes, who finally gets the full panel and finally gets answers. 3 to 6 months into proper management, the difference is not subtle. Energy comes back. Clarity comes back. The body that has been quietly drowning starts swimming again. That is what closing this gap actually looks like. Here is the protocol. First, ask for the full thyroid panel by name. TSH, free T4, free T3, thyroid antibodies, also called TPO antibodies. All 4. Same blood draw, same visit. Write it down or save the screenshot. Second, ask about your reference range. Specifically, ask whether the lab's normal TSH range is age-adjusted. If it is not, ask your doctor whether your number, even when called normal, is consistent with how you have been actually feeling for the last 6 months. Your symptoms are clinical data. Your number is one data point. Together, they make a diagnosis. Third, starting tonight, support the system. 3 concrete inputs. Eat protein at every meal. Your thyroid needs amino acids and tyrosine to do its job. Hold a consistent sleep window. Thyroid hormone rhythms depend on it. Pause any biotin supplement for at least 48 to 72 hours before any thyroid blood draw, because biotin is one of the most common known causes of falsely normal thyroid lab results. The FDA issued a public safety communication on this exact issue in November 2017 and reaffirmed it in 2019. Fourth, track 3 things for the next 30 days. Morning energy on a 1 to 10 scale. Mental clarity on a 1 to 10 scale. Resting heart rate. Bring that log to your appointment. You stop being a story and start being a measurable case. Write this down or screenshot it. 4 tests. TSH, free T4, free T3, thyroid antibodies. 8 words at your next appointment. 3 inputs starting tonight. 3 numbers tracked for 30 days. You came into this video tired and dismissed. You are leaving with a list, a plan, and the words to say at your next appointment. That is what taking your health back actually looks like. Your body has been telling you something for a long time. Now you finally have the language to hear it, the test to prove it, the plan to act on it. I'm Dr. Richard James. If this video helped something finally click, do one thing for me. Send it to someone who has been calling all of this just getting older. A husband, a sister, a best friend from church. You could be the reason they finally get the right test. Subscribe, because next week I am covering the 4 lab numbers every adult over 60 should know cold, and the one nobody is checking that quietly predicts a heart attack. Take care of yourself tonight. You have earned the right to feel like yourself again. I will see you in the next one.